Hannah sat on the edge of her worn-out couch, her elbows resting on her knees, and a pile of unopened envelopes balanced precariously on the coffee table in front of her. The late afternoon sunlight streamed through the lace curtains, casting intricate patterns on the walls of her tiny apartment. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator, a monotonous reminder of her stillness in a world that seemed to be rushing past her. Her gaze drifted to the Bible sitting nearby, its leather cover faded from years of use. It had been weeks since she last opened it. Lately, every prayer felt like a shout into a void, the echoes returning without answers. She sighed and pushed a strand of auburn hair from her face, glancing at the stack of bills. Each envelope seemed heavier than the last, their contents holding the weight of her uncertainty. Her teaching job had been her life. She poured herself into every lesson, every child, every late-night grading session. But budget cuts didn't care about passion or dedication. Now the days stretched endlessly, filled with job application and polite rejection emails. A sharp knock at the door startled her. She hesitated before rising, her bare feet brushing against the cool wooden floor. When she opened the door, her best friend Claire stood there, holding a bag of groceries and wearing her usual bright smile. "I figured you might need some company," Claire said, stepping inside before Hannah could protest, "and food that doesn't come from a can." Hannah managed a weak smile as she closed the door behind Claire. "You didn't have to do this." "Of course I did," Claire replied, setting the grocery bag on the counter. "You've been cooped up in here for weeks. If I didn't drag you out of this funk, who would?" Hannah leaned against the door frame, crossing her arms. "It's not a funk, it's complicated." Claire turned, hands on her hips, and fixed her with a knowing look. "Complicated as eating cold cereal for dinner 3 nights in a row. Complicated as avoiding everyone, including God." The words stung, but they were true. Hannah sighed and pushed away from the door frame, walking to the window. The city buzzed with life outside, cars honking, children laughing, a street vendor shouting about fresh tamales. She felt disconnected from it all, like an observer rather than a participant. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore," Hannah admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought teaching was my purpose, but now I just feel lost." Claire softened, stepping closer. "Maybe it's not about knowing every step right now. Maybe it's about trusting that God has a plan, even when you can't see it." Hannah let the words sink in, but doubt lingered. What if I've missed it? What if I've already failed him? "God's plans aren't that fragile," Claire said gently. "He doesn't give up on us because we stumble. You just have to keep going, one step at a time." The next morning, Hannah found herself sitting on a park bench, a cup of lukewarm coffee in her hands. The park was alive with activity. Joggers weaving through the paths, parents pushing strollers, and children playing tag beneath a sprawling oak tree. She watched a little boy chase a butterfly, his laughter carrying on the wind. For a moment, she forgot her troubles, caught up in the simplicity of his joy. But the moment faded as quickly as it came, and the weight of her circumstances settled back on her shoulders. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. She glanced at the screen, a text from Claire. "Don't forget coffee with Pastor Linda today." No excuses. Hannah groaned, but didn't have the heart to cancel. Pastor Linda had always been a source of comfort, her wisdom delivered with warmth and humor. Maybe a conversation with her would help clear the fog. By the time Hannah arrived at the coffee shop, the scent of roasted beans and fresh pastries filled the air. Pastor Linda waved from a small table by the window, her silver hair catching the sunlight. "Hannah, my dear," she greeted warmly. "Come, sit." Hannah slid into the seat across from her, feeling a sense of ease in Linda's presence. "Claire tells me you've been having a hard time," Linda began, her eyes kind but probing. "That's one way to put it," Hannah replied, tracing the edge of her coffee cup. Linda leaned forward, resting her hands on the table. "I know it feels like your world has been turned upside down, but sometimes that's how God gets our attention. He shakes things up to move us towards something better." "But what if I'm not ready for something better?" Hannah asked. "What if I'm just stuck?" Linda smiled. "You're never stuck when you're in God's hands. You just have to be willing to take the next step, even if you don't know where it leads." As they talked, Hannah began to feel a glimmer of hope, a small light breaking through the darkness. That evening, Hannah sat on her couch, the faint echo of Pastor Linda's words lingering in her mind. Take the next step, even if you don't know where it leads. But what was the next step? Her phone buzzed, breaking her thoughts. It was an email from a community outreach program she'd volunteered with a year ago. Subject: volunteer opportunity, help us teach. Hannah's heart skipped a beat as she read the message. A struggling neighborhood school was looking for volunteers to teach after-school programs for underprivileged children. There was no pay, but the need was great, and they were seeking passionate individuals to make a difference. She hesitated, staring at the screen. It wasn't a job, at least not one that could pay her bills, but it was something. And for the first time in weeks, she felt a spark of excitement. The next morning, Hannah stood outside the small, rundown school. The brick walls were faded and cracked, and several windows were patched with cardboard. Yet, as she stepped inside, she was greeted by the sound of children laughing and chatting. A young woman in a worn but cheerful dress approached her, extending a hand. "You must be Hannah. I'm Maria, the program coordinator. Thank you so much for coming." Maria led her through the hallways, introducing her to the classrooms and the children. Despite the school's condition, the students' smiles lit up the space. Hannah's heart softened as she saw their eagerness to learn, their eyes wide with curiosity and hope. As the day unfolded, Hannah found herself in her element again. She taught a group of fifth graders about creative writing, encouraging them to describe their dreams. One boy, Timmy, wrote about becoming a doctor to help his sick grandmother. Another girl, Ella, shared her dream of becoming a singer, her voice shy but filled with promise. "You're all amazing," Hannah told them, her voice cracking with emotion. "Don't ever stop believing in your dreams." That night, Hannah sat by her window, the city lights twinkling like a sea of stars. She opened her Bible for the first time in weeks, flipping to Proverbs 3:5-6. "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." The words felt like a balm to her weary soul. She realized she didn't need all the answers right now. She just needed to trust. In the following weeks, Hannah grew more attached to the children and the community. She discovered her passion for teaching was alive and well, even in this unconventional setting. But just as things began to feel right, a curveball came her way. One afternoon, she received a call from a recruiter at a prestigious company she'd applied to months ago. They wanted to offer her a position, one with a generous salary, benefits, and the promise of financial stability. The catch? The company was known for cutting corners and engaging in questionable business practices. Accepting the job would mean compromising her integrity. That night, Hannah stood in the park under a canopy of stars, her breath visible in the crisp air. She clasped her hands together, tears streaming down her face as she prayed aloud. "God, I don't know what to do. I want to trust you, but I'm scared. Please show me the way." A gust of wind rustled the trees, and Hannah felt a strange peace wash over her. She remembered Claire's words, "God doesn't give up on us because we stumble." The next day, Maria called her into the school office with exciting news. A local philanthropist, impressed by the program's impact, had donated enough money to expand the initiative and offer Hannah a permanent teaching position. "We want you to stay," Maria said, beaming. "You've made such a difference already." Hannah felt tears well up in her eyes. This was the answer she had prayed for, not the easy path, but the right one. The story closes with Hannah standing in the schoolyard, watching the children paint colorful murals on the walls. The sun sets in a blaze of gold and crimson, casting a warm glow over the scene. As she takes in the sight, Hannah whispers a prayer of gratitude. Her journey wasn't over, but she had found her footing again. She smiled, knowing that no matter what uncertainties lay ahead, her faith would guide her through. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, leave a comment, and subscribe.